And we are live on YouTubers. It's another
No.
grand Saturday night with these two guys, cohorts.
Well, as Sam Cooke sang all those years ago, another Saturday night, and I ain't got nobody. I got some money because I just got paid. Wait, is that true? It is true. I
Yeah,
just got paid, but it's probably not true that I got some money because most of that money has already been spent now. The rent's due and all that fun shit. So
money? Who's got money? No one's got money these days.
the last rent payment before the rent goes up. So
How bad is that gonna hit you?
uh about $100 a month.
Oh,
Well, I was on a 2-year lease, so
yeah, I
that's
gotcha.
why I did another 2-year lease because that means I won't have to do another rent increase for 2 years. But I'm also kind of maybe hoping that in 2 years I might have some other options, but we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. True, very true, very true.
Yeah.
So,
Ooh, one of the
let's
referees in the Rangers Panthers game just went down. He's on the ice clutching his head.
yeah, I do see. So I do have story time with Joey
Ooh,
segment.
story time with Joey.
Yes,
Nice.
yes, yes. But let's start off this grand evening. How's everyone doing? I know everyone missed each other because that's how we roll.
Tired.
Well,
Tired.
I would say that I am not unwell, whereas Jeremy is hacking up a lung. So
Yep, I got a cold last weekend. Fantastic.
And it's summertime.
the cough
That's
is the cough is always the last thing to go away when you get a cold.
yes. And it sucks.
Yep. The way I cough, sometimes my coworkers will ask me, "Are you okay? Are you dying?" And I just usually tell them to fuck off by saying, "Well, we're all dying."
There's sarcasm from you sometimes, I tell you.
Well, I mean, when I give that line, I'm always thinking of the Pink Floyd song "Time."
Yes.
Like the one line goes, like, you run and you run to catch up with the sun, but it's sinking. Blah 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 blah. The sun is the same in a relative way, but you're older, shorter of breath, and one day closer to death. Yeah, that's why I look at it sometimes. So
Yeah, understandable. I got reminded on Wednesday from my wonderful son that since I turned 47 on Wednesday, that he reminded me that just remember, Daddy, in 3 years when I graduate high school, you're going to be 50, and that's going to be super old.
to quote Diedrich Bader in Office Space,
Yes, that's what I had to hear on Wednesday.
man, I believe you get your ass kicked. You say something like that.
I was like, wow, that was a great happy birthday, Daddy. Just throw out the old man shit right at me.
I mean,
So
I'm trying to remember how many times my nieces and nephews have called me old. I think they do it to my older sister more than me, and that makes sense because she's older. Um, yeah, I can't. I don't know. I mean, I had to deal with
You don't know?
my younger niece on Sunday when we were over there last week, rubbing my head. Now I just got my hair cut today, so my hair was up to like here,
mhm.
rubbing my head and going, hedgehog, hedgehog. And I went,
Wow.
and then of
Wow.
course, and of course she's doing it with the shit eating grin on her face and everything. And of course, my younger nephew, who likes to imitate anything that she does when it comes to me, especially because she was like coming close to like jumping on top of me, which she's not allowed to do anymore. And I know he's looking for the opportunity to do that. And I keep saying, Wesley, don't you do it? Wesley, don't you do it? But he just comes in and he just starts rubbing my head too. And I just went, oh my God, what did I do to deserve this?
Yes, good old times, good old times. Yeah, it's been
And
a
of course,
week.
and then the funny thing was, later in the night, right before I left, I picked her up and I was like, kind of like dancing with her, and I was going like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this much more. You're getting too big. And it was like, I can't even pick up your older sister anymore. She's too big now because she's about to turn 13. Um, and then for whatever reason, I was texting my sister about it, like, and I was like, so I told Eleanor she's getting fat, and
Wow.
she's anything but. But she's like, you better not have told her that. And I was like, no, of course I didn't. And then I use like the Stewie gif where he's like, it's like, it's like, yeah, I'm just messing with you. Or am I?
Oh my God.
But no, she's just getting older. She's just getting bigger. She's definitely not getting fatter. This kid barely eats anything, for Christ's sake. So
One of
mean,
those. One of those. I gotcha.
it is slightly alarming that one of the things that she likes to eat is chips and cheese. But it's like
Chips and cheese. That's delicious.
7-year-old. So what do you expect?
Yep.
But yeah,
Eating that bar food, I think there. Yeah. Chips and dip. Yeah.
Yeah, these kids today, like the two guys that I sit near in my office are like, I thought they were a couple years older than they are. They're only like fucking like 23 and 24 and shit. And it's like, Jesus Christ, I was at fucking high school when you guys were born.
Do they look older than what they are? Because that's not really good.
I mean, no, but always been a terrible judge of people's age by looking at them.
Okay.
I always think people are older than what they look. I don't know why.
Holy shit!
I just
me and
do.
Joe must look ancient to you.
Yeah, I know.
No, I know how old you fuckers are.
Yes. I'm on the other side of 45, getting closer to that 50 bullshit.
Yeah, but it's like with the fact that I always think people are older than they are usually, it's like maybe I shouldn't still be bitching about that person who secret shopped me at Suncoast 20 years ago who thought I was 30 when I was 24.
Oh,
Again,
that's hilarious.
Again, thought I was 30 years old, 6 foot with black hair, when at the time I was 24 years old, 6'4", like I still am now, and certainly do not have black hair.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny.
I mean, there's a couple colors my hair could be called. Black has never been one of them. I've literally never had anything close to black hair.
You should dye it blue. That'd be great.
Well, there's a reason I get it cut this way. It's like so I don't have to deal with that shit.
But you keep the sideburns nice.
Well, yeah.
I think you should grow them out into mutton chops. That'd be awesome.
Nah, see, because you know what the problem is? Whenever I would try to do something like that, it just wouldn't look right. It would be like the times that I legitimately tried to do the Fu Manchu instead of the full goatee. It just doesn't look proper.
You need to do a beard and fuck the goatee shit. Then Pat will have women start like, ooh, Pat.
You know the problem. You know the problem I always had with trying to grow this part is it would just become too goddamn hard to maintain.
It's really not.
It'd be too hard for me. I don't know. Like to this day, my dad still looks at me and goes, "Oh God, you don't shave straight." I'm like, "What?" And of course, I don't live with him anymore, so I don't want to have to hear that kind of shit and everything. But still,
what you gotta do is,
I'm sure if I tried to grow the full beard, he would go like, "Hey, you missed a spot right there."
let the stubbles grow out a little bit more, and they get a trimmer and trim this goatee shit down to that, and then you just gotta like trim it up under here and whatnot, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
I'm not good with trimming either. No matter how many different electric trimmers I've tried, I always feel like they all suck. So
and I think what would fit his new persona is a bunch of like lumberjack style shirts. Some of the
plaid shirts.
Plaid shirts, yeah. I think
flannel,
plaid shirts.
Flannel.
Yeah, flannel.
Plaids.
Plaid.
Yeah, flannel in the winter, plaid in the summer, spring. Listen.
Bibbed overalls.
There's farmer man over here. We got the farmer boy. Listen, you got to try something. That goatee and those sideburns they're looking for that journey to connect at some point in your life.
It's a journey to connect.
Yes, I see Florida just scored. But listen, you don't do your hair, and that's fine. Women there's a lot of women who like bald-headed men or men with like very short hair like you, but you got to get that beard, man. Women love the beard these days, man, So as a single man, I think it's something you should try.
It's an alpha male trademark.
Well, okay.
Try it.
Let's look at it. Let's look at it this way. Let's get in touch with Jackie. See what she thinks. And we'll go from there.
No.
Why not?
You're going to take the advice of your friends.
But I need the female opinion, and she's the only female's opinion I would want right now. Do you ever notice how she dresses differently depending upon what she's covering?
Hmm.
She dresses one way when she's doing the NHL, and she dresses a different way when she's doing WWE.
Yes. I've noticed she does that.
I noticed that like a week or so ago when I saw her doing interviews with the Western Conference game, and I was just like, "Huh, she dresses a bit more conservatively." I see.
Yep. Yep. Just a tad bit, you know, but yes, it's full beer time. This needs to be your goal. Okay. If you don't want to do it, you don't want to start this summer. Fine. Football season starts September. Going into the cold weather. That's what you need to
I
do.
think you should both participate in No Shave November.
Well,
Fuck that shit.
I may,
My wife will fucking lose her mind if I fucking clean shave.
I may have done that once. The only other time I can for sure
No
remember-
Shave November, which means you start. Most guys do start off clean shaven and then just let it grow and not touch it.
There was one time
Oh,
I
she can
remember-
care less how long this gets. But
There
clean
was-
shaven, I can't tell you. I think the last time I was clean shaved was probably when I was 19, 20. I did it one time for whatever fucking reason it was.
Yeah,
But I did it, and that was the last time I ever did it.
yeah, I've had this since 2001, mostly because I was 20 and I thought I looked way too baby faced. So I'm like, I'm gonna grow the goatee and make myself look older, so not people thinking I'm this little kid or something.
I mean, I've had various versions of facial hair with a chin strap and goatees and long sideburns, short sideburns, and all kinds of shit.
I remember
Mustache only back in the day.
I remember like not shaving at all during like the last 2 weeks of my sophomore year at Notre Dame. It was like it was like a finals thing, but of course I didn't have regular facial hair at that time, so it wasn't really the same thing. So, yeah, I don't think I've ever really. I do not think I have ever tried to grow the full beard. So
That should be your
I
goal.
don't
Tried
know.
variations of grow, all kinds of different growth, and it just
The-
doesn't grow.
the other reason, the other reason I think I've never tried to do the full beard is because my dad's always like had a full beard with very few exceptions that I know of. in
So
his-
what? Be like,
And-
Dad, mine's better than yours.
Yeah, and again, of course, like I said, I do not live with my parents anymore. But when I did live with my parents, there would be so many times where I would answer the phone, and whoever was on the other end thought it was my dad and not me. Like, oh my god, you sound so much like your dad on the phone. So I just, for some reason, I probably always thought, well, gee, if I grow out a full beard like my dad, then they're gonna say, oh, now you're looking like your dad too. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I do not need that.
Nah. Does he have more head on top of his head than you?
Hmm?
Does he have more hair on top of his head?
It's got
God,
lots of
I
head on
could
top
get
of his head.
I could get that one out.
Yep, he's got lots of heads on his head.
Does he have more hair on top of his head than you do?
Yes, he does not get his hair cut the way that I do.
All right, then you won't look like your dad. You're fine.
Oh wow. Yeah.
You're totally fine.
Trust me, people who would
No bullshit. I don't want to hear no excuses. God damn it.
no, I'm just saying people who would see both of us or who would have any knowledge of it or know or anything, they would be like, oh, look at that. You're looking like your dad now. And I would be like, oh, shut the fuck up. Of course, I want to be able to say that to those people, though.
Yes. Can I tell a
should.
story time with Joey now? Because this is kind of funny.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
Oh, we didn't get the story time. I thought we were.
No.
I
we didn't get to
completely, I
this. We
completely,
didn't get to
lost,
the-
I completely lost track. I'm sorry.
We didn't get to the actual story. So
Sorry, not sorry.
Joey's story time segment here, ladies and gentlemen. So Thursday evening, I was driving to esports, and it takes me about 20, 30 minutes, depending on traffic, to get there. Anywho, I leave the apartment, driving down the road, and we go to a stoplight, and this guy like stops at the last minute behind me, and I'm like, "Whoa, bro!" So the wife's new car has got tinted windows and SUV, so I have my sunglasses on, so he couldn't, like, if I was kind of giving him the evil eye, but he couldn't see me anyway. So the light turns green, and we go, and there's two cars in front of me, and two lanes, and the cars in front of me, the speed limit's 45, right? And these guys are doing like 30, 35 tops. Well, there's a whole bunch of cars to my right, and I'm like, I can't get to the right lane. And the dude behind me is like legit tailgated me. I'm like, and the road's kind of curved. Like he can see that there's legitimately two cars in front of me. Like I'm not the one trying to be slow, but he's got this. He's getting pissed off. He's kind of going like this and this, and like I'm trying to. I turn my turn signal on to get in the right lane. He cuts over. He goes past me, and he looks at me and gives me a dirty look, and he's like, lips are moving. So I waved at him, and I had the windows down because it was a great. It was a nice day. The windows down in the car. He slows down to be side by side, and he and then the people behind him start beeping the horn because he slowed down. So he's looking at me, and I look over, and I was like, wave like this. I'm like, I'm just gonna be a dick because this guy legitimately can see that I'm not the one doing this, but he wants to give me the dirty look. So he's cursing me out with his window open. So I start doing this. I'm like, I'm kind of looking over, and I'm like making sure. I'm like, huh? What? I'm like, what was? I busted out the Hogan, and he was like, "Wah, wah, 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 fuck you," and I was like, "Bye," and then he took off. I was like this fucking douchebag, and
That
he's
is
sitting there.
that's
So
literally
it
the best way
was,
to deal with an asshole like that.
and there was two other stoplights ahead of us, right? He is swerving in and out of traffic, like he's going back and forth. I actually got into the right lane. He went, and then a car went, and their car made a right turn, so I got off and I took off past them. Like they were still doing 30, 35 in the left lane. A bunch of cars passed them, and they still sat in the left lane going slow as shit. So I get back in front and left lane. This guy's still like swerving. He cut a guy off. The guy almost fucking hit rear-ended him going to a stoplight. We go to the next stoplight. He's flying through it, and we get to the third stoplight. And he's about to cut somebody off in the left lane because it's the right lane's right turn only, the middle lane straight, and there's a left turn. And where this road is, a lot of times people get in the right turn lane and then sit there, and you're like, yeah, you're not turning right. You're going to gun it and cut me off to get in the middle lane, which they do all the time. So I thought he was going to do that. I want to say this. So the right turn lane, there's a big pickup truck that's like inching out to wait for clearance to go. The guy goes around that truck to the left of him, and he guns it into the other like main highway. It's like Highway 55. Highway 55 like this for you guys would be like kind of like MacArthur Road, put it in those terms. It's a road like that. A lot of cars driving fast, whatnot. Yeah, he went around and the truck slammed on the horn, and then like he took off. And I'm like, dude, this redneck in this pickup truck's gonna run you off the fucking road, bro. It was just one of those funny things. Like I I felt a little road rage, and I'm like, nah, you know what? Fuck it, calm down. No, no need, no need. But when he went by and he gave me a dirty look and he's like yelling at me, I was like, bye. It was just he was so pissed when I did the what? What? What?
Yeah, you were doing like the equivalent of a Les Grossman to him, where I was like,
Oh,
"How about I send you a hobo's dick cheese?"
it was
Yeah.
hilarious.
Until
Oh,
then,
no.
as always, go fuck yourself.
It was so funny. Oh my God. I was I was thinking about the whole drive, and I was just like one of the dads I talked to, one of the kids I coach, I talked to his dad like a little bit after, and I was telling him about it, and he was cracking up laughing. He was like, that is hilarious. He goes, it's so funny you did that. You know, yeah, just down here, I know everywhere there's crazy ass drivers, but sometimes down here, like they get a little aggressive and, think they're at Charlotte Speedway and,
Yeah,
need to, drive like a crazy ass NASCAR driver. Like,
I,
yeah,
I
bro, no.
I very much am of the opinion that you should have to repass the driver's test like every like 4 or 5 years, but in a
Yeah.
way that, like judges like how reckless of a driver you are. You know. So
Yeah, it's a bit
because
crazy.
everybody is. Like this morning, I was going to my haircut appointment, so I take some back roads, but first I get on 33 North and 22 East, and then back roads to Forks. So for whatever reason, I didn't stay on the road long enough to see the left lane on 33 North was closed, like right after the William Penn Highway exit, and as you're going past the 22 interchange. So it's getting doubly slowed down because of that. Um, all of a sudden, I'm seeing two cars coming up on the right on the shoulder where there are also rumble strips, mind you. And
Of
I'm like,
course.
hey, I'm getting off at 22 East too, but I ain't doing this. So I got as close as I could to the truck that was in front of me. So I wasn't gonna let these assholes in for doing this shit because I can't stand people doing that. And then here's the funny thing. There was a sign, one of the road signs, like saying that the lane was closed or like the merge sign, or I don't remember which one it was there on the shoulder, so they couldn't go through that, of course. So I'm seeing them in my rear view, like motioning over to like the people, like, let me in, let me in. And I'm like, you fucking let them in. This isn't like we're merging because the lane's closed. And for the sake of just keeping traffic flow, like you should let people merge and everything.
Yep.
But obviously, of course, people let them in. And then they got around the sign and they got back on the fucking shoulder.
Of course.
And I could see both of them in the rear view. Like again, it was like they were both driving like SUVs or minivans or whatever. And the first one was a woman who looked like she fucking looked like the definition of a Karen. Okay. And then
She had the look.
Yeah, she
She's
definitely
got the
did.
look.
She was a middle-aged white woman, and she definitely looked like she should be able to do whatever she wants.
Did she have the haircut too?
Kinda. She had one of those like very
She had the
straight
look.
cuts that comes down to like about here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
and then the guy in the SUV behind her was doing
The
this
soccer
same
mom
shit.
look.
I guess you could say, but she was older than the mother. She was like I said, she was definitely more middle aged, like probably 50s.
Mm.
Okay.
And then the guy behind her, he just looked like an idiot. So it's just like, oh god, this is the shit I have to deal with. I'm like, this is why I find it funny, and I'm not criticizing him, but this is why I find it funny whenever I'm on the
Yes, you
phone
are.
with our dear friend AJ, and he occasionally likes to bring up the point about, I was the only one who ever got you out of your house when I lived here. Like, yeah, I like being in my house. You know why? Because I fucking hate people. I don't like being around people. I
He would
do it
say
when
that
I
to me all
have
the
to or
time
when I
too.
choose to, but I do not like being dragged out by other people into groups of people.
When
Like going to
he
the movies, like going to movies with a group of friends, that's fine. I'm doing that willingly. But you're saying, hey, let's go do this, or like that one Thanksgiving when we went out to some like club or whatever. I didn't really want to fucking do that night. I did it for other circumstances, which I'm not going to get into here. But it's just like, dude, I don't like being around people. I mean, I barely ever go to the grocery store anymore because I hate being around people, especially in the fucking grocery store where everybody has their head up their fucking ass and doesn't acknowledge that there are other people trying to shop.
you know, it was funny when he moved back to his home state, he made reference to that. Oh, you guys are gonna have to make sure you get Pat out because I was the one who got him out, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, if Pat wants to come out and hang out with us, he will. If not, okay. Like, is it mandatory that we make Pat come out of his house? Like, I was so
Absolutely.
confused. Like, are we supposed to do this? Like,
Yes,
okay.
I should have started sending you a report card saying, "Oh, on March 25th, you had the opportunity to invite me out with you, and you chose not to. That's an F."
Right.
Like I said, I'm not getting on his case for doing that because I did appreciate it most of the time, but it's like I didn't need it to be done. Like I'm a
Oh,
homebody.
you needed it.
I'm a homebody.
Needed to get out.
There are times I admit, especially living in an apartment by yourself, especially after living with somebody for damn near 40 years. Yeah, things can get a little lonely and everything sometimes, but again, I'm I deal with people when I have to, like for my job or shit like this, but I do not enjoy being amongst groups of people or crowds of people. Like, going to WrestleMania was bad enough, really, in a lot of ways. Because well, again, you guys are there, so I mean, we're in those seats.
Oh yeah.
They're small, they're cramped, side to side and front to back.
Yeah.
So it's not an extremely comfortable place for somebody of my size to be. And I'm not saying I'm like, fucking Andre the Giant here and everything, because, well, again, the reason I say that is because, like, if you saw the Andre documentary they did several years back on HBO and everything, I mean, they basically documented how difficult it was for Andre in so many ways. And that's because he was fucking Andre. He was 7'4" and 500 pounds and everything, and how difficult it was for him to get around because of how everything went. So I'm nowhere near his proportions, but I'm still big enough, height and weight wise, that there are plenty of things that are not built for me.
Yeah, and it's uncomfortable. Like I'm 6'2", and sitting in those seats is definitely a challenge for multiple hours. It's not fun.
No, I mean, it could have been worse. I will say this. I'm not going to say that the seats at the Link were the worst sporting event, site, arena.
One small
stadium.
positive for that stadium. Go ahead. No.
Yeah, they're not the worst I've ever been in. The worst has still got to be fucking Beaver Stadium, at Penn State, which I haven't been to for like 20 years now. But like the reason why the capacity at Beaver Stadium is so high is that a number of years ago, and this is what I was kind of mocking at the time I was there because you could see it. They increased seating capacity by making the space and again, there's a lot of bleachers, especially in the sections I've ever sat in at that stadium. They made the space for each number smaller, so they could paint more numbers on to the bleachers and say, "Oh, now we can fit more people in." But you could still see where the old numbers were written on the bleachers.
Oh, of course.
Like they didn't even bother to replace them. They just, so it's like that's kind of like a middle finger. But that was definitely the most uncomfortable place I had been in, both side to side and front to back. It was impossible to be there that day. My mother got into a fight with this woman. It was unbelievable. The Rangers season is now over. I would close this window. Sean McDonough, you can eat my ass. Because I know he probably was enjoying it because he's a fucking Boston prick. So that's the other thing too. I hated about ESPN mostly covering the series. I had to listen to that son of a bitch every goddamn game.
Indeed, I'm not that great of a fan of his, but
oh well, Rangers have lost. Yeah, when they said that he was missing the one game because he had laryngitis and everything, I said, "Oh, can it linger?"
Yes. Yes.
So now I have nothing else to root for but the Yankees. At least the Yankees are playing well.
Well, you have that going for you.
Yep.
How was your week, Jeremy?
Good question. It was okay.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. Look at this. He doesn't even know. He doesn't even know.
No, it was uneventful for the most part. Not in a bad way.
I was going to say uneventful at our age usually is a good thing.
It's so true.
Yeah, the weekends are what's busy now. It's every weekend's just ridiculously busy.
Well, so on that line, are the kids out of school now, or are they still?
They got 2 more half days left.
Okay. Yeah, because it was like my older sister who teaches in the Bangor School District. She finished this past week. Over in Jersey, my younger sister, who's also a teacher, and all the kids, I think their last day is like Thursday or Friday of this coming week. So it's like,
yeah, it all depends on the school district when they started, how many
snow days,
extra in-service days they had, if they had snow days built in and didn't used them, or whatever.
It wasn't a particularly snowy winter up here, so I don't think.
But
there was a couple days, but it was like they really shouldn't have been more than a couple days missed for snow.
Like I'm pretty sure my oldest, she has I think she goes until Friday. I feel like she goes till Friday. but they have more in-service days in their schedule than Northampton does. Northampton doesn't have that many. Or
Hmm.
if they are in service days, they're days that they're in service for the teachers, but the students were already off. So it doesn't affect, it's not like an extra day off for the students. It was already a day off, and they
Yeah.
made it in service day for the teachers, which is what
Yeah.
Parkland should do instead of, okay, students and teachers have off, and then we're going to have an end service day so students and teachers have off again.
Yeah.
Because in-service days don't count for the students; they only count for the teachers. Because the
Yeah.
teachers have to have so many like scheduled working days that are like educational purposes. I didn't realize that that's what those were for the teachers. I knew they had
Oh,
meetings
yeah,
and
I knew
stuff,
that.
but like every year teachers have to attend so many like I don't know if they want to call continuing education like
That's essentially what it
days
is.
of
Yeah.
school they have to have.
Yeah.
So
That's
Yeah,
the
they
same
have. They're
thing.
called teacher work days down here.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. I mean, I knew that back when I was still in high school. I remember because I think a couple of our teachers explained that to us once
yeah, I'm
when we
sure
were
that
asked about it. And yeah, it's definitely like along the lines of like continuing education because in my profession, we you have to do so many hours of that every year.
One
You
of the
have to have it documented and everything. So
so one of
especially
the
once you get your CPA.
one of the weird things is that technically speaking, if you look at Nico's school calendar, it says his last day is June 12th, but he has Monday is a normal day. Then he has Tuesday and Wednesday is his finals. And then I was like, what the hell is he going to do Thursday, Friday, and then the following Monday, Tuesday when grades are due, like I think next Friday, well, this coming Friday. Um, but then like I asked him, and he was like, no, all my teachers said once finals are done Tuesday, I don't have to, I'm done with school. And I'm like, okay. I was like, it's just weird. Like there's no teacher work days, no, like nothing. It just says school, school. And I'm like, and we get like daily flyers
hmm
in emails from like the school. And it just talks about this is the schedule. Monday is a normal school day, Tuesday and Wednesday is finals, and then Thursday is state exams. That sophomores, juniors, and seniors, I think, have to do. And then like that's it. I was like, why'd they have this listed here? If you're not doing shit, you don't have to go back to school after finals. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Abby did on her keystones because Pennsylvania now requires all students. I shouldn't say requires. One of the requirements is that you pass the Keystone exam, which they have a couple
Mm.
different ones. This year for all kids who took Algebra 1, they have to they had to take the Algebra 1 Keystone test. So I'm interested to see how she does. If she doesn't pass it, she does have to take it again next year. So that's awesome. So she won't even be in algebra next year. She'll be in geometry. So,
Yeah,
so I'm sure she'll remember a lot about algebra.
I know, I know. Some of the
But
testing
if they
kind of
don't
makes
pass it like
sense.
they get 3 attempts to pass it. If they don't pass it, then they have to do like another project. They have to do like a project to pass
Mm.
school, to graduate school. It's so dumb. I understand the purpose of testing, but we have
No standardized tests are
so much standardized testing in the United States. There should not be a standardized testing requirement in order to graduate school. Because I just what does standardized testing tell us? It pretty much tells you did your teacher teach you this stuff?
it teaches
Not
you
how well you
it,
learned it,
it
but how
shows
much
And
did your teachers cover this?
what you did that whole quarter or semester, that should that determines that shows right there what your teacher did or didn't do, like for the whole class.
it 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 shows that you can take a test.
I'm just not a big fan. I
And that's really
understand
means
teachers
nothing.
giving yeah, I understand teachers giving tests to make sure what you're retaining throughout like the course of a marking period. Like that always has made sense to me. But schools giving out standard like the PSSAs, those are stupid tests. Those are absolutely redunculous, stupid test that the state has for each school district, and all it is to determine what funding they get. How much funding does this school get based on their test results? It's
And
stupid.
that's all skewed as well, because every school district in every state, they take kids in these little districts that need help and they put them in the districts that are doing good, and it brings down their grades, their overall average grade, so they can get more funding and all that shit. That's another corrupt aspect of the school districts, and it's so bad.
Yeah, I'm
It
not
shouldn't
a
be like that. It should be every state gets school funding, and it should be distributed equally to every single goddamn school.
yeah. So it's just so I'm not a big fan of that. I liked when my oldest graduated, PA had instilled, and I don't know if Pat, I don't think you had to do this. I think you had gotten out too, because I know you're a couple years younger than us, but I don't think you had to do this. They started doing the school projects. Like you had to do like a presentation or a project, like a there was the for a while there was the you had to do a volunteer project, and then it turned into like a presentation project that you had to do. That was what my oldest had to do. She had to do a presentation instead of like in front of like four faculty members.
We The only thing we had to do that was required, I think, for us to graduate is we had to do X amount of volunteer hours. We had to volunteer somewhere, and it had to be X amount of hours documented and whatnot. I think we had to
I
start
just had to
doing,
pass my classes.
well, yeah, pass the classes, but there was like volunteering was like something that was part of it. And I think you can start your sophomore year, but you had to finish it like, I think in April of you couldn't go, like if you didn't have it done by April of your senior year, you're in trouble.
Yeah,
Pretty
it sounds
much.
like that was your school district, like a school district thing, because that definitely wasn't something that we had to do. And you graduated a year before me, so
Mhm. Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah. But it's just
Yeah.
I would rather them go that route, make them have to. I'd rather them have to do like a volunteer project and track volunteer hours and give back to the community
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form than have to freaking worry about passing a stupid test. I mean, these schools get so freaking bent out of shape about this too. Like they actually had, and now of course my daughter missed it because she was at a cheer competition, but they had 2 days of prep classes, like all day prep classes to prep for an algebra one freaking exam. I'm like, this is stupid. Like that is just wasting these kids' time putting them in a 2 day class to make sure they're prepped for a freaking 3 hour test.
Would you say it's stupid, or would you say it's Randy Orton, Kofi Kingston stupid?
That
Mm.
maybe even more stupid than that.
Stupid, stupid.
It's stupider. That's what it is. It's
I
stupider,
mean,
guys.
when I was going through grade school and high school, and I've probably forgotten a lot of it by now. Every year we had to do the Stanford Achievement Test.
Right.
I don't
Yeah,
think we had to.
it was pretty much what it sounds like. It was just like this. It lasted like 3 or 4 days. It was like you would be in the auditorium and like doing these like filling in these like bubble sheets and everything with whatever questions about it. And it's like, and then the only other things I can really remember is like we did like the PSATs and then the SATs. That's only if you're intending to go to college. So nobody who wasn't intending to go to college wasn't doing anything like that. Like I got out before. I just noticed my microphone's over here. Before they started really doing a lot of the real like hardcore kind of testing stuff. Like, let me just put it this way: before all the Bush education stuff came through, where it put a big focus on these tests, and where it was
Oh, yeah, yeah. No kid left behind. Yeah.
no child left behind. Yeah, where it seemed like they were like, yeah, we're going to improve test scores, and so we're going to have teachers teach to the test. And it's
Yeah.
I really, I didn't have uniformly great teachers. I had some really good teachers. I had some teachers who I still resent to this day for various reasons.
You suck.
Either because they were bad and they shouldn't have been teaching, or maybe it was because their
You were
demeanor
bad and you shouldn't have been learning.
or their attitude was such that it was like, fuck off. it's like these are kind of people's like, oh, if I ran into them today, and I didn't, have a nice filter, I would
You have
probably
a
say,
nice filter.
you were one of the worst fucking teachers I've ever had. But um, I don't know. Yeah, we didn't have to do any kind of project or presentation like what you were just referring to that your oldest had to do. So that was something that must have come after too, But there's just there's some real stupid shit. It's like everybody, of course, says that education needs to be better in this country. Education needs to be better in this country. And yeah, I agree. It's a matter of how you do it, though. I ran into a situation, kind of, sorta, that made me wonder about education in this country. I watch a lot of these movie reaction channels on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
The other day when I was at work, I was like, oh, let me find a reaction to a movie that is one of my favorite movies. But it's a reaction to this movie that I haven't seen before. The movie's Glory from 1989. It was with Matthew Broderick, Denzel Washington, Morgan Freeman about the
Oh, okay.
about the 54th Massachusetts, the first all black regiment in the Civil War.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I found a watch of that on this one channel. I think that's called Real Rejects, and yes, I am singling them out. This is not a channel I frequent. I think I've watched a couple from them in the past. But as I was watching their reaction to Glory, it's like they were making some good points about this and that here and there. And these are two people who are got like mid-30s at their absolute oldest. They were probably like, late 20s, early 30s. But they were making some really stupid, some really flippant remarks. Like they were commenting way too much about Matthew Broderick's hair throughout the movie. And I'm like, are you watching the fucking movie or are you looking to make jokes? And like, again, it's a historical movie. I don't expect everybody to know the history about every single
they're worried
thing.
about his hair.
Yeah. I don't expect everybody to know like all the details about the history. And of course, that's kind of the whole point of watching this movie anyways, to get the story. But there were some things that I grew up kind of sort of exposed to a lot of the Civil War because my dad was a Civil War buff and we went to a lot of Civil War battlefields and shit like this.
Those are fun.
But there were some things that they weren't like getting that I was trying to figure out how they could not get it. Okay. Like multiple times throughout the show, the movie, they use the term Reb.
Meaning rebel. Like.
Right. Right.
That's what the troops were from the South. They were the rebels.
Right. It was a guy and a girl.
Sorry, that wasn't appropriate.
The girl didn't seem to get that. The first time in the rewatch that they showed, they were like, "What do they mean Reb? What was it Reb? Do they mean rebel?" And then like 10 minutes later or so, when they started again, they're just like, "Yeah, I still need to know what Reb is."
Oh my god.
And I was listening to this while I was at work on either Wednesday or Thursday, and I seriously thought I was going to have my head hit desk moment.
You're about to have an aneurysm over this one.
Yeah. I was just like, so I watched through to the end, and then when they made another comment about Matthew Broderick's hair, and like when the last shot of the movie where they dump his corpse into this trench and everything, and then they dump Denzel Washington's corpse on top of him, and they didn't recognize that it was Denzel for some reason.
Who is that black man?
That's kind of what they were like, and the guy was black too. I'm like, I know it wasn't you couldn't really see it, but you couldn't tell that was fucking Denzel. Oh my god.
He's very recognizable.
I stopped it so I didn't listen to their like post movie analysis, which went on for like another 10 to 15 minutes.
That's horrible, man.
I'm like, they've said enough to make me just go, I can't deal with this anymore. So I'm like, you know what? I need to know. And so I started scrolling through the comments because it was on YouTube again, of course. And pretty much every single comment was, "You two are idiots." It's like, glad to see the education system is going so well, and just like all kinds of comments like that. And for once I was like, yeah, I really can't disagree with these random commenters on the internet for once.
You can't. That's bad.
And I know history is one of the subjects that I think has really fallen off by the wayside in a lot of ways, because that's not one of those subjects that they test for on these standardized tests and shit. And without getting too political, um, I think we see that very often on a daily basis with people's understanding of history in this country as it is. It's like I was watching another YouTube channel earlier this week, um, one of my favorite ones, where she's been going through Star Trek: The Next Generation, watching a few episodes from each season because she did the same with the original series and the original series movies. So now she's going to
Okay.
the Next Generation, and she's going to go through the Next Generation movies. So they were on season 4 of Next Generation. She was watching this one episode where it was an obvious allegory about McCarthyism. Okay. It's not
Okay.
really one of my favorite Next Generation episodes because I think it's not very well done. It's very obvious and it's very heavy handed. It's like you can do allegories about McCarthyism without hitting you over the head that it's an allegory about McCarthyism. But I was watching it while it was like premiering live on YouTube, so the live chat is going along, and the number of people that I saw saying, "Oh yeah, it makes you think about what's going on in the country today." I'm like, no, there is nothing McCarthyism about what's happening to Trump. I'm sorry.
McCarthyism. Oh,
I said, if you
glorious.
think Trump's being treated unfairly, fine. There is no tie to what the HUAC procedures and hearings were doing back in the 50s. This is not the Trump trial. So when I'm seeing people saying this shit, I basically want to say, where's that gun that I don't have so I can shoot myself and not have to listen to shit anymore?
What scares me is that there is, I don't know how many, like I don't have an exact number, but there are people that are reading about Marxism and believing this is a great way to go. I'm like, that's kind of scary.
Pure Marxism as a theory sounds pretty good. It is impossible. There is simply no way to do it.
Right. And
There
then
just isn't.
like you hear people ask people about it, like when they say, "Oh yeah, I think Marxism is great," like and they're like, "Okay, did you like Lenin?" You know, like they're like, "Yeah," and like they start naming off all these people that believed it, like that believed in Marxism and tried to implement it, and they're like, "Yeah." Did you do your history on these people because it wasn't very good for the people that were being
Right. The only
ruled by them?
right, like again, like pure communism, again, is by itself is pretty benign. Okay,
Hmm.
you cannot have anything approaching pure communism though without somebody making it that way, which is where the totalitarianism aspect of it comes in, and that's why it's not achievable. You can't have it without the essentially dictatorship of some kind.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like, you know, there's plenty of things that you can do. You can change this and that and every other damn thing, but you can't have those things. And the people who insist that you can are pretty fucking naive.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's interesting.
But it's like,
Things are
but at the same time, it's like when people want to say that, like, when people in the country, in this country today, are complaining about some policy that somebody wants to enact, and goes, "Oh, it's socialism. Oh, it's communism." They're calling people Marxists, like Trump does that all the time. I'm like, dude, you don't even know what the fuck a Marxist is. Number one, so shut up. I mean,
yeah.
there's a few things that I unfortunately just do not expect most people in this country to have any kind of a good grasp about, and classical economic theory is certainly one of them. So,
Yeah, it's unfortunate. One of those things that, there's that famous statement, if we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it. And unfortunately,
Yep.
the way things seem now, we are forgetting about our history and how things were and how they've come, and the fact of continuing to move forward is the best way to get there instead of trying to relive the past, which is a bad idea.
well,
Forgetting American history, forgetting history of other countries, not
yeah,
understanding the history of those countries, and just thinking what goes on currently is how it's supposed to be and all different types of ideas that make no sense. No one wants to learn anything, you know, where things were 100 years ago, 200 years ago, how things got to where it is now. Like everyone just doesn't like, no one wants to learn anything to even give a shit to
Yeah.
know how we got where we are right now.
Yeah, because yeah, I don't know.
And it's one of the things, it's, it's all the protesting for the, the Gaza stuff. You know what I mean? And I get it. But at the same point, you have the pro-Palestinian and the pro Israel, people, Jewish people, which is fine. But at the same point, the Palestinian protests, yeah, we know not all of them are bad. We understand that, but you don't understand what that country does right now, like
Yeah, that's
all the bad shit that they do.
well, yeah,
Like
it's
I saw a report, just for instance, you want to protest about something, you should protest for them. And I think it's still like over 30 countries, suppress women, you know what I mean? In regards to like covering their faces, their body, or, suppress them in other ways where there's laws where they have to get their husband's permission to like go outside, go to school, go to the store. They have to get permission to take their their clothing off so that they don't have to be fully covered in their own house. There's still countries that do, what is it? Oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? Where they can do female mutilation. In regards to that, I think there's like 52 countries that still do that shit. Um,
yep.
and there's other stuff where there's still suppression where they can. I don't remember how many. I think it's less than 30. It's like 20 some countries where they can still, if you disobey your husband or a family member, they can kill you or some shit.
Yeah.
Um, where they can still do that type of shit to you. So it's kind of like, you know, the war between the war in Gaza right now is not good for both sides. Like, there's centuries of history regards to Israel and the Jews and, the Palestinians and all the other parts of the Middle East countries in regards to that. So there's more to it than just, oh my God, look what Israel's doing. Well, yeah, look what the terrorist group Hamas did when they went in and mutilated kids, women, and everybody in the town, and the people they kidnapped from the concert in the desert, and all that stuff. You think if they did that to US, if they did that to US, came in our country and did that, you fucking know these people who are protesting right now would be fucking losing their minds. They were like, let's go to war and let's fucking bomb and nuke the fuck out of these people for what they did to our people. So, if it was if tides were turned, people's opinions would be totally fucking different. So it's getting a little bit out of hand in
Yeah.
regards to it. And these college kids don't know. They're not trying to know. Professors aren't helping because professors are, I think a lot of professors are afraid of the fucking their students because of the wokeism and all that shit. So they're kind of like trying to be cool or trying to be, you know, more in tune to the kids that they're teaching at these colleges. And I think they're fucking forgetting what history is, and their opinions are all over the place. You know what I mean? It's just there's a lot of train tracks that are going in the wrong direction.
Yeah. I mean, damn it, Judge. I don't care if you get a home run your first at bat. You strike out now with a runner on third.
That's what he
Uh,
does.
you want to go out there and you want to protest in support of the Palestinian people, fine. You want to go out there and you want to protest against the current Israeli government because of their actions, fine. You go out there and you start wearing stuff that's in favor of Hamas, fuck you.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean that you're supporting a terrorist organization, a
they
terrorist
are a
group.
fucking terrorist group. And especially if you're out there saying Israel's evil, this, that, I'm like,
You want to talk about evil? You're talking about the wrong evil.
And I don't understand why that's so hard a concept for some people to understand. And again, it's like, yeah, I want these kids to learn shit. I'm glad that maybe they're challenging
Yeah.
certain things like that they're being told, but it's like, dude, there is no dispute of what Hamas is, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just I don't know.
I think what a lot of what people don't understand, and this is part of going back and learning your history too,
Hmm.
is war is not pretty. War is very ugly, and war does not care if you're a woman or a child,
Nope.
or if you're an innocent bystander. It does not care.
People forget about that.
There are rules of engagement in war, but unfortunately, those rules of engagement are not usually followed on both sides.
well, yeah,
Maybe one side tries to follow them, but the other side doesn't. So therefore, then there's casualties of war, which is
No,
why
they-
there's
they-
that term, casualties of war.
they
Um,
know they don't have to because there's no consequences. Nobody
Right.
gets brought up on fucking war crimes.
No,
Very few
so
and far between.
there's but because if you look back to Vietnam, one of the big conflicts that we learned about in high school, and I'm sure they still learn about it in high school, in that was a huge, huge thing where a lot of women and children were killed, whether it was on purpose, by accident, whatever it may be. A lot of women and children lost their lives in the Vietnam conflict because what we were always told was there was it was very hard to tell who was the enemy because what was it? Oh God, I always screw this up. The North Vietnamese, right? That was the we were helping the South Vietnamese, right? Yeah.
I believe so.
Pat,
Yes.
Pat, somebody help me out. I know I'm screwed. I don't want to screw it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was South. It was South. What was at the time South Vietnam?
So the North Vietnamese, who we were fighting against because we didn't want them to invade, because we were trying to save South Vietnam, were using women and children to bomb people.
Yeah.
Like, so who do you know who the enemy is? Like, you can't just be like, oh yeah, it's safe, come on over, and kaboom, all of a sudden the body bomb goes off, It's like there's no safety, and we if we study history and we understand that, then I think we'd have a little bit better understanding of, okay, there's wrong on both sides. We should be fighting for humanity, regardless of what side that is. We should be fighting for the humanity and well-being of those that are afflicted by this conflict. And that's the simplest way that I can put it is.
Yeah. Like this is what I even said it to somebody the other day. I said, I'm not for Hamas, of course. I'm not for the current government of Israel. I'm not anti-Israel. I'm not saying like there shouldn't be the state of Israel and everything like that. I'm for all the people who are just trying to live their goddamn lives and can't because somebody else is deciding that they're going to use violence as a weapon of politics.
Yeah.
Yep.
And unfortunately,
unfortunately, both sides right now are just want to wage war. So
yeah.
Yep.
And that's unfortunately something in that part of the world that's been going on for centuries and it's going to continue to be the same thing over and over and over again.
Yep. Because just like, where were the Holy Wars? The Holy Wars were fought over what? The same area, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that's hold on, let me see if I can find this real quick.
So it's one of those things. There's this very holy place that nobody can agree on sharing. Everybody believes they're entitled to it. There's been sides over history that believe they're entitled to this holy land because you had people who believe in Jesus or God believe that that's their sacred area, and you have people that believe in Allah. If I'm getting this correct, I don't want to screw anything up and offend anybody. That believe that that's their holy land. Their Mecca. It's like.
That's in a slightly different part of it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I knew I was going to screw it up at some point. Just,
It's all good.
But it's just one of those things where no both sides have not wanted to be able to come to the realization that, hey, we both believe in something and we both believe this place to be sacred and holy ground. Can we just share without fighting about it? And the answer has
Yeah.
been no for pretty much the entire time.
Well, there was a movie. It was shit. It's just almost 20 years old now. That Ridley Scott directed, starred Orlando Bloom, called Kingdom of Heaven. It was about the Crusades. It
Yes.
was about one of the
Yeah.
Crusades.
Yep.
The last scene in the movie, Orlando Bloom's character has gone back to wherever it was in Europe. I think it was some village in France, and Richard the Lionheart comes up and he's looking for him. But Orlando Bloom denies who he is and everything.
Oh yeah, because he's a blacksmith at the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last thing you see in the movie is a title card that says, "The King Richard the Lionheart went on to the Holy Land and crusaded for 3 years. His struggle to regain Jerusalem ended in an uneasy truce with Saladin, who was the leader of the Muslims and who had been depicted throughout the movie. Nearly 1,000 years later, peace in the kingdom of heaven remains elusive, and nothing's changed in nothing in the 20 years since that movie was made has changed in that regard either. So
Nope.
yeah, they're
Nope.
fighting over." They're fighting over. I don't mean to laugh to like trivialize or anything, but it's like they're fighting over this fucking slice of desert. And it just,
Yep.
it really just boggles my fucking mind sometimes. It's like because it's a holy land. It's like, what's holy about it? The fact that these people lived there 2,000 fucking years ago. I mean, this is another reason why I
Yeah.
have my issues with religion and shit. It's like at some point I just want to go, oh, just move the fuck on.
Get on with it. Yeah,
Get on with it. Yeah,
it's crazy. So I want to change the topic to something a little sports oriented.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
we've been
we
on
got
that
off-
subject. It's a little heavy. Let's go to something lighter and more trivial.
Yeah. So Caitlin Clark is evidently getting treated like a biatch.
Oh, I
In
saw
the
that.
Yeah,
Wednesday.
we could talk about that because one of our favorite players got drafted to my basketball team for the WNBA, and I'm still not 100% on board with it, but I'm trying.
Yeah, they
There's I'm sorry, real quick. There's an article on the news site that I go to, Mediaite, which usually follows on focuses on political stuff, but delves into sports stuff every once in a while. They have a headline from a thing up here that says, "Caitlin Clark hit with cheap shot as Angel Reese cheers," and then they have a quote that says, "That's just not a basketball play."
yeah, she got like hip. She got like
I don't think
hip
she really didn't cheer. Let's fucking
Well, obviously,
ridiculous.
so let me just read this real quick. I'm sorry.
Clickbait for that
Caitlin
one.
Clark was hit with a cheap shot during a Saturday women's basketball game while her controversial rival Angel Reese cheered on the aggressive move. During a WNBA game on Saturday, Clark, along with the Indiana Fever, faced off against Reese, who played for the Chicago Sky. Clark and the Fever went on to defeat Reese in their first time facing off in the WNBA since their college matchups. However, a controversial foul late into the third quarter of the game caused some controversy on social media. After Sky guard, I'm not sure if this is pronounced Kennedy or Kennedy, it's spelled CH, Carter, completed a shot, she moved to guard Clark as she was receiving a pass. Carter then delivered a rough shoulder check to Clark, and there was a screenshot, knocking her to the ground. The referees then called out Carter for the foul, and Clark was allowed to shoot from the free throw line. Reese could be seen cheering Carter on right after she delivered the brutal knockdown to Clark. Following the moment, Clark spoke with the reporters once the quarter ended, noting that the move by Carter was not a basketball play. Apparently, the footage is on Twitter. If somebody wanted to,
Oh, I've seen
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
I've-
it wasn't a
I've
basketball
seen it.
play.
It
She
wasn't.
yeah, it like that the inbound play, and she
It was
does
a
like
dead ball. Like nothing was
yeah,
going on.
she does hip check her, and there's a point where like there's a shot that goes up. Angel Reese gets in front of Caitlin Clark and kind of does one of these. She's boxing her out, but she takes her left arm, kind of like swipes it backwards, and it really, to me, wasn't really that violent per se. But like Caitlin Clark goes like fly, like she did a LeBron flop to the floor. But in her defense, she has been
She's
getting her
been
ass.
she's been getting
I've
body
watched.
checked and
Oh yeah,
face
They-
guarded and
So are we playing basketball? or are we playing
I've
football
honestly
or
I have
hockey?
never seen anybody get face guarded in a professional sport. in a professional basketball game. Like that's just something you don't see very often.
No,
Getting
they've
face
been,
guarded.
and it's funny because so there was a situation with the Las Vegas Aces. So I think Kelly Plum and the coach are, or wasn't, no, it wasn't Plum, it was the other star player. I can't remember her name right now. They were like talking about, they made some comments and like, oh, you guys are hating on Caitlin Clark. And they did an interview, like, no, we don't hate Caitlin. She's great for the sport, blah, blah, blah. But you can kind of see like some of the sarcasm in their interview. And there was some other stuff said afterwards. And you could see the way they played her in the game where like they're throwing everything at Caitlin Clark. And like, listen, I get it to a point, but it's like I feel like there's some envy going on or some jealousy because all the females before her, the great females, were never able to elevate the women's sport in college or in the pro level like this specific class has,
Yeah.
starting with Caitlin Clark and what she's did in her college career. And her WNBA career has been up and down. I've watched 5 of her games. She's been kind of all over the place, a lot of turnovers, and it's just growing pains. She's not on a great team either.
Nope.
They have another top three. They had another top three pick from last year that she's playing with. So they will be a better team, but it's not a great situation. But they every team she's played is she's been getting her ass handed to her. And she's just, taking the shots and she keeps on rolling, which is good for her. She's getting all these endorsement deals, and I think some of the other top women that came from the drafter in WNBA. Angel Reese got a couple good endorsement deals. Cardosa got one. A couple of the other girls did too. So it's helping the league in general. Ratings have been
Their
up like
viewership's way up this year
yeah.
from last
I
year's.
think they're the first game of the season when they had Caitlin Clark, the viewership from that first game from to last year was like 152% increase. So it's bringing more eyes to the sport, which it should. It's always should have been. It shouldn't have taken this long for the WNBA to get the views that they're getting. But they were poorly managed for a long time until the new um, commissioner came in. She's done a great job with the league. But yeah, she's going to go through growing pains. And I just feel like, there is some envy or jealousy from some of these previous women because I've already seen interviews where like some college record she broke. Well, you know, the females' records that she broke, their names are getting recognized now, but like, well, no one cared about us 20, 30 years ago. Yeah, unfortunately, it was a different time for your women's sport 20 or 30 years ago. Like now is a different time. It's evolved. So you're gonna say, I still think I'm the record holder because of X, Y, and Z is just ridiculous. There's a little bit too much hate going on for her when there's no reason. There really
Yeah,
shouldn't be.
I mean,
She's elevating that sport. She's elevating that league right now.
we've seen stuff like this before. I mean, various rookies come into the league and
Yeah.
they get overhyped or whatever, and like then they become like targets from the rest of the league in general for various reasons. I mean, it's like I'm struggling to think of any specific examples from the team sports right now, but I mean, it's definitely happened, and it happens in the individual sports sometimes too. I mean, I think we always remember, especially guys of our age group and everything. We always remember when when Tiger first hit the tour and everything, and because he might have been the most hyped individual athlete,
Yeah.
meaning not team sport. The most
Yeah.
hyped individual athlete, ever. Everybody knew he was going to be good, if not great, which of course he was. And that's why that guy tried to, took the club to his knee the one time. Wait a minute.
100%.
Wait a minute. Wait.
Wrong.
Wait. No.
You
I'm
thinking
sorry. That
Olympic
was
hockey?
that wasn't Tiger Woods. No, that was that was Nancy Kerrigan. I'm
Oh
sorry.
my God. You're
I always
ridiculous.
get those people
Jackass.
confused.
Yeah. I bet you do.
I always have these. Okay.
Oh man. But yeah, no, it's just there's definitely
And of course, we all know who was responsible for that attack.
ton. Oh. um
That's right. Even though Doctor Evil was still cryogenically frozen at the time, he ordered the attack on Nancy Kerrigan because it was funny.
yeah, it's just it's one of those things like I understand that women the WNBA, the women that play in the WNBA could definitely be upset because, where was all this hype this so many years ago when we've been playing for how many years and we've been just as good as we are now as we were then and that and the simple fact is I shouldn't say the simple fact. One of the facts is that while you're playing really good basketball, and that's awesome, one person put it like this: do I want to watch a woman go make a layup, or I want to watch a guy slam dunk a ball? Which is more exciting? If you have the
Oh, I
choice,
mean, the
you're
dunk
going to
is more
watch
exciting.
what is more exciting to you. And unfortunately, men's basketball is more exciting overall to watch.
Yeah, but I mean,
And it's
they
nothing
don't
against the
even
women.
fucking
It's not
slam
to say
dunk
that
anymore.
the women aren't playing good basketball. It's just that dunks are more exciting than layups.
But they don't
Nobody's
try
ever going to
to.
say that a layup is more exciting to watch than a slam dunk.
But they don't try to
Sorry,
even dunk anymore. They're always shooting threes.
you
And
know.
the thing about the WNBA is there's a lot more females who are better 3-point shooters, and Caitlin Clark's one of them. And
Yeah,
that's kind of like the thing, you
right.
know?
If you want to get
So,
people to watch the WNBA, then you have to make sure that you have good shooters because that's exciting to watch too. People drop the three bomb from the freaking letters. Like that's exciting to watch. That's why people
yeah.
love Steph Curry.
Yep.
Well,
And the
speaking for
WNBA
yourself,
has
you can
those
love him, but
females.
I don't have to.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the WNBA has those females that do that now, and they have, some new ones that rookies for this year. Yeah, it's unfortunate to be honest with you, but it's going to happen. They're making her prove herself. So it's going to be a rough season for her, but I think at the end of the day, she'll be fine.
I think one of the things that would help the WNBA too is like they didn't run any of their games during the men's season.
Oh, what the fuck is that?
Like their
Um,
season kind of just started. The women's season kind of started, and the men are in the playoffs right now. Playoff basketball is going on, and that's like the hype of the freaking men's season. Like that's probably one of the worst times to try and start your season.
yeah, I think for them, you know, I think the biggest thing is maybe I mean, they started at the beginning of May. Maybe they should start it like towards like more or less towards the end of May because by that time, it's the Eastern Conference, Western Conference finals, and then you have the finals. So it won't be as many weeks dealing with the NBA playoffs.
Yeah,
But they've been advertising together now too. So they're trying to plug both games during, they're plugging WNBA games during the NBA playoffs and back and forth. So,
yeah,
the good thing about them is that next year they're going to have a new expansion team in Golden State. And then the
ooh,
following year after that, they're going to have another expansion team that's going to be in Toronto. So,
Are they calling it Golden State?
yes.
Did they have to?
Well, it's owned, I think the majority owner is the owner of the Golden State Warriors. So,
Okay, are
yes.
they going to play in the same arena where the Warriors currently play, which of course is not in Oakland?
I think I have to double check on that. I don't remember. The
ugh.
Valkyries, I think they're called.
I'm a little annoyed. I just looked at the playoff situation, and I can't believe the Timberwolves let the freaking Mavericks actually win a game. That's disgusting.
Um,
A
the
game or the series?
No, a game. Oh no, the series is over. Never
yes,
mind. What am I talking about? I am an
That's
idiot. I
why
read
I was
this wrong.
asking.
The Mavericks won the series 4-1.
yes.
The Timberwolves came back. They won game 4. Sorry, I read that wrong. My apologies, folks. Jeremy don't know how to read. Reading is not fundamental. Um,
It's going to be interesting NBA Finals. I will say that.
I'm glad to see the Mavericks won. I've been waiting, and I know one of our good friends is not a European player lover. He actually hates them. All European players can die, in his opinion. Um, I don't know if he would say die, but possibly he might say that.
They're pieces of shit in his opinion. Go ahead.
But I'm glad to see Luka Doncic playing in the NBA Finals. That
I
dude's a
like
freaking
him.
he's a hell of a fucking player, and he's cocky as shit, and I love it. I love that he's cocky because guess what? He has the right to be. He can play. He can pass. He can shoot. He can. I can't.
He's
I know
not
he
very
can
good.
dunk. You don't see him do it very often because he's not usually that open to
He's
dunk.
not very good defensively. But to his
Yes,
credit, he played a lot of defense in Europe. Like Europe is still a league where they play way more defense than the US in the US in the NBA.
he's adjusted
And
his game to the NBA.
correct. And that's why you see you do interviews with European players, and when they get to the NBA and you ask them like how's how challenging was it for you to go from the Euro leagues to the NBA, and they're like it wasn't hard at all because they were getting bodied up. They were getting physical in the Euro. I watched the British basketball league, and that British basketball league is basically still very defensive. They play physical, but they still play like a NBA a lot of NBA style offenses and whatnot, but they're still playing defense. They're still, bodying people up and getting in your face and stuff like that. So the rules are a little bit different. But from them going from that, like players averaging like 15, 16, 17 points a game in Euro League, and then you're like, oh, their numbers aren't that great. And they come to the NBA and they're dropping 26, 27, 28 points a game. You're like, how's that happen? Motherfuckers, because they know they don't have to play defense anymore. And they know no one's barely playing defense against them. So they're just fucking doing their thing and they're able to score whatever the fuck they want to. I mean, that's
Hmm.
legitimately how it is.
Yep.
You got two of the top European players, Jokic, who just won an NBA title last year, and Luka has a chance this year. I'm like, Jokic is slow as shit, but yeah, he's one of the top fucking NBA players playing in the type of league now. That's why I think it's funny when people are like, oh, the guys from the 80s and the 90s and early 2000s won't be able to play in this game. Are you fucking kidding me? We have two of the slowest sons of bitches, European guys, and a bunch of other slow asses dropping good numbers. You think those guys, you fucking go back in time, bring those guys this game, they're like, wait, no hand checking, none of this, none of that, none of that. And he goes, I have free will to do whatever the fuck I want. Yeah, yeah, good luck
Yeah.
with that. They're gonna be scoring out
When
the
they made
ass.
the NBA game a more offensively favorable game, offensive player favorable game, it changed the landscape of the way that these guys that were able to drop 20 plus in the 90s and 80s, it changed the land. They would have had crazy ability to score
Oh yeah,
off of what they couldn't do before and they can do now. It's just crazy.
100%.
So, speaking of hand checking, I had the opportunity to coach one of our teams in an AAU tournament, which I'm not, well, Joe knows I'm not a big
Ooh,
fan of AAU tournaments. I think they're kind of
AAU.
a waste. I mean, it's a nice way to get some games in, but it doesn't really tell you much because there's really no organization to it. Team that we went
That's what he was
against,
going to talk about when he said hand checking.
we went against a team from it's Valley View. They're in Archibald, PA, which is up near Scranton, Wilkes-Barre area.
Okay.
I was going to say I've never heard of that town, so
Yes. And I took a look up. They actually were playing in the state tournament this past year. They had uh, made it to the state tournament. I don't know how far they got. I didn't take a look into that, but we ended up losing by one. They won on a buzzer beater 3-pointer. So it's a
Ooh,
tough way to
okay.
lose, but
Uh,
loss is a loss. But
tough way to lose. That's putting it lightly. A fucking awful way to lose. That's a rip your heart out way to lose.
but it just if I didn't known that and been able to realize that relay to the kids, you realize you guys were playing against a team that was playing in the state tournament last year, uh, and I looked and there was quite a few players that were actually on that team too. That's an accomplishment considering where we were and where we're trying to go. Like a lot of
They put up a
promise.
fight. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, because we were down like 25-9 at one point in time
Yeah.
and
Oof.
came back.
You should give them a lot of credit because they were playing the dudes that were playing the dudes disguised as another dude.
1000%.
So it's good, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting this coming basketball season. But yes, talking about speaking about hand checking, they this team, and I don't know how they get in the way, but I don't know how the refs were letting them have it, but they were legit stiff arming, like straight on defense, straight up one hand on stiff arm against the offensive players. I looked at the
Oh,
ref. I said, "Can we, catch?" I was like, "Can we pay attention to the hand checking? Like they're straight up stiff arming us." And he's like, "Yeah, yeah."
I'm guessing they did nothing.
No, there was not a single call. I mean, they did start calling it a little bit tighter at times because it was getting a little out of hand. Like the fouls from that team were getting a little out because they were starting to get frustrated because of the fact that we weren't letting them score.
ah,
They got that lead because they were getting points in transition. They weren't actually when they had to set up an offense, they were not very good.
okay.
So if you didn't get them stopped in transition, they were going to score a bucket. But once we got them to stop in transition, very very easy to contain. Not a very great team in the half court game,
Gotcha.
where we are the
So,
opposite. We are a better half court team than we are a transition team.
so question for you. Was there any fights between parents, fight between coaches and refs, fights between, coaches and parents? Were there any shenanigans like that going on?
Not while I was there, thank goodness.
Hmm.
I was only there for one game. We had 3 games today. I was only there for one. I could only do one. Because the guys that were running the AAU program were on vacation and not available. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm still, I just, I mean, you have to do your research anymore these days when it comes to AAU programs because I think the majority of them, unfortunately, I'm going to be honest here, in my opinion, from what I've read, heard, interviews I've seen, um, podcasts I've listened to, people that I personally know who have coached in the AAU. You better do your research on the AAU program you're going to because otherwise it's just a money grab and it's your kids aren't learning shit, really. They're playing a whole ton of games, not practicing, having coaches lie to your kids saying they're this when they're not really that good. You
Oh, yeah.
know,
A lot
there's
of them
just
are money grabs.
there's no organization, there's no accountability. No one wants to, everyone thinks that their kid is the fucking greatest. And you see it on the court when, a legitimate foul's called and parents don't like it and they start yelling at the refs and then they start causing problems and fights break out, and you have the kids, unfortunately, anymore. And this happens in not just AAU, this is in youth sports in general, where the kids are taking on the personalities and the personas of their parents and talking a lot of shit on the court to other players and talking shit to the refs and other coaches. That's where it comes across the line. That's just disrespectful. You're being disrespectful in general, not only to, you know, the coach or ref that you're talking shit to or the other opposing team, but you're being disrespectful to the sport in general. Like that's just not how it should be or it's supposed to be. It's gotten out of hand where they've let these kids just kind of do whatever the fuck they want, talk how they want, and there's no control.
Yeah,
And these teams are just charging a shit ton of money to have your kid play a couple basketball games a week or like 6 or 7 on the weekends, which is fucking exhausting enough for kids. I mean, it's a bit ridiculous.
I had to talking about attitudes and that. It was funny. My son had a baseball game today, and Parents always get excited for when their kids do something good, especially at this level. I mean, these are 7 and 8 year olds. So for
Hmm.
them to do a good play, catching it, get a grounder, throw it to first, make a good throw to first, and get a person out. That's impressive. Like that, it doesn't happen too often. Most times, it's a bobbled infield, grounder, or the throws way off to first base or something like. There's always something that seems to go wrong.
Yeah.
But so one of the kids on my son's team, you know, looked like it was going to be a pretty decent hit. Well, the kid standing next to the pitcher, because it was coach pitch at this time, they do 3 innings of kid pitch and then they do 2 innings of coach pitch.
Okay.
The kid got the grounder and threw a really good throw to first base, and the first baseman caught it and they got him out. You hear, it must have been this kid's mom because she kept on calling this kid by name. Like she knew all the kids' names, but she was like really hyping this kid up. And you see him make the throw, and he's like this. He's like does this motion, like yeah, he's out. Like I'm just like, I looked at my dad and I say, well, that's kind of cocky for a little kid. Like, what the hell is going on here?
What do you expect?
Yep.
That's what they see on TV all the time.
Like I'm just like, ugh.
It is fucking ridiculous though. It's like the fact that their parents don't correct them on shit like that, or their coaches don't correct them on shit like that.
Well, and I'm pretty sure his dad was one of the coaches.
Well, same.
There you
fucking
go.
thing. I mean,
And it's
The
funny
fact that-
because I remember this kid from basketball, and basketball was the same way. He's one of the, and I'm not blaming the kid because the kid is only 7 or 8 years old. So I'm not blaming the kid for any means. But it's like the parents believe this 7 or 8 year old is like God's gift to sports. Like everything he does, he's so spectacular. It's like when I'm watching basketball, because I'm such an anal person about basketball, like in any sport, but like if anybody asks me about my son, I'm like, yeah, he does pretty good for his age. Like he's doing pretty good. He still has tendency to not remember to dribble the ball or do this. But I know there's parents out there that their kid's 7 or 8 years old and they're like, oh, he's fantastic. He'll probably be a D1 athlete when like, how the fuck do you know that? Like your
Yeah.
kid is not like, give me a break.
Those are the ones who are living through their kids or trying to live through their kids or going to force the subject of living through their kids to get them to try to become a D1 person or player or whatever the case may be. And
And it's why
at the end of the day, it's not going to happen.
it's why I dislike these highlight reels, and I'm sure you've seen them too. Like these highlight reels from these kids going to these freaking these AAU showcase tournaments and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I'll see the ones of the little kids, like the kids that are like 12 and 13 years old, like the U12 and U13 games. And these kids are going off, and they're like, and then you get these guys talking about them, like, I think I just saw the next blah 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 player in this U13 showcase. I'm like, you
Motherfucker,
realize
you
that
didn't see shit.
I'm like, you realize that the reason they look so much better is because if you look at them, sometimes they're like 2 or 3 inches taller than the other kid. This one kid that they were talking about was built like a freaking semi truck. He had easy 6 to 8 inches on every kid that was in his age group, and probably 30 pounds on them. I'm like, no shit, he looks great.
He's going to look like a superstar when he's outmatching every single kid that's on the court.
Like
I
for
mean,
a kid that size to body somebody in the inside and then flex on them, I'm like, duh, no kidding. Like I'm not saying the kid's not a good basketball player for his age, but if he was to go against somebody his own size, I guarantee it's not going to look as good as it looks right now.
Yeah.
Because to go against somebody his own size, he's going to have to play somebody that's probably 2 to 3 years older than him. Now he's playing against somebody his own size. When he gets to that age group and everybody's caught up to him, now tell me how good that kid is.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. I want to compare him to people his own age that have caught up to his height and size. That's when you can
100%.
see how that now you can see how good a player is.
Do you,
Like, don't tell me how good a player is at 11 years old. Like
do
that, there's no benchmark there.
you want the numbers? No, I'm being serious. You're talking about these parents who think that their kid's going to be a D1 athlete. Do you want the numbers?
Oh my God! There's a statistic on this. Are you
This
fucking
is
shitting
on the
me?
NCAA's website. It's the in the search engine. It was dated 2015, but when I scroll down to the bottom, it said last updated April 1st, 2024.
Oh my
Okay.
God, this is gonna be scary. Go ahead.
So they have it broken down by men's and women's sports. They have it broken down by high school participants, NCAA participants, overall percentage of high school to NCAA, percentage of high school to NCAA Division One, two, and three.
Uh,
So give me a sport, and I'll give you the number.
let's just go with basketball because this is the ones. This is the one that seems to be like the most advantageous of parents to think their kids are D1 athletes.
1% of high school athletes in basketball. Well, this is men's.
Right.
1% of men's high school basketball participants will play in Division One.
How many go Division 3?
1%.
What is the Division 3?
The total
Yeah.
Division One, Two, and Three is 3.6%.
Oh my God.
3.6%, and only 1% of that, like I said, goes to Division One. So yeah, your dreams of your kid getting there, fine, have those dreams. Don't be fucking delusional about it.
No, and that's the thing. Like some parents are really delusional. They really think their 7 or 8 year old, or maybe even teenager that's playing in as a freshman and maybe playing up on varsity is going to be that athlete. And it's like you realize how many. Yes, there are a ton of Division One schools. Yes, each team has about between 15 and 18 players. Let's say 18 at the max. Usually probably 15. Um, you really think your kid's that special? I mean, I'm glad you think they're that special, but do you really, if you put all of your hopes and dreams aside and say, okay, and you really evaluate your kid and say, okay, could they go against a whoever? I can't even think of a name right now. In like match up, pound for pound, inch for inch, shot for shot, dribble handle for handle against this athlete. If you honestly think they could, then get them against them. Put them up against them. Like I, I, I don't think parents understand how difficult it is to become a D1 athlete.
Mm-hmm. Well,
D3,
yeah. Well, yeah, D3
the
is higher,
percentage is still low, but I would say there are a lot more kids just in the Lehigh Valley alone that get D3 offers.
yeah.
The sales comes around here and offers kids, which is a Division 3 school.
Yep. But let's also
Um,
remember what D3 doesn't give you.
right, there's no scholarships at all.
Yep.
Like, hey, we want you to come play for you and you'll get a great education. It's all on you though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Division 3 schools that'll go out here, but once again, they don't give scholarships. I think D2s, they can give some scholarships, but it's very limited on athletic scholarships. I think they get a few scholarship opportunities, but it's one of those things like I want kids to succeed, but I don't want you to throw all your hopes and dreams into a thoughts of playing at a Duke or a Penn State or a Stanford or UConn or whatever. I don't want you to put your
Or
hopes and
UC
dreams in
Santa
because
Barbara.
yeah.
Santa
Because
Barbara
it's
sounds
just not realistic. You can dream big, but dream realistically. Like,
Well, so real quick. So these are the current men's Division One sports. Well, sports, not just Division One. Baseball, basketball, cross country, football, golf, ice hockey, lacrosse, soccer, swimming and diving, tennis, track and field, volleyball, water polo, and wrestling. I know that was a big list. But which of those sports do you think has the highest percentage of high school to Division One?
just with the sheer amount of people, I would say football
Baseball.
has the most.
Football is 3%, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth highest.
Oh, okay, it was kind of close.
Baseball.
Baseball is only 2.4%.
Ooh, lower than football. So I'm gonna go. Then if it's not that, then it's track and field.
Track and field is 1.9%.
Holy Nikes!
I would have thought track and field might have been higher too. Now, because we've gone too far with that now,
Water polo. It's got to be water polo because nobody plays that fucking sport.
Water polo is 3.1%. Yeah, so that would see you're kind of on the right track though. Least amount of participants, so you've got a smaller denominator. You would figure then you have a higher percent.
So what's the top 5?
So the top 5, I'll go in reverse order here. So after football at 3%. Hold on 1 second, so I don't screw it. Well, so football is 5th at 3%. Water polo is 4th at 3.1%. Water polo is the least participated sport that I mentioned. So that is actually a good guess. But anyway, at 3.3%, you've got both lacrosse and swimming and diving.
Hmm.
And then at 5%, ice hockey.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
Now ice hockey is the second least participated sport in terms of high school. So again, that's what you're basing it off of, like the number of high school participants. And the number of NCAA participants, the numbers are different. Water polo is still the least participated in the NCAA. Ice hockey is not, because you have So you know what the hardest to get into is actually? You might be shocked by this. I think I am. At 0.7%, the hardest high school to Division I is volleyball.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What was number 1 easiest?
Ice hockey.
Oh, you went
because there was a tie, so that took up 2 spots.
Well,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So
Yes,
water polo.
He
was
said
4.
tied for 3, and then he went
I meant tied
ice
for
hockey.
second. I'm sorry.
I was like,
That's
where I
my
was like,
bad.
what's number 1?
That's my bad. That's my bad. That's my bad. It's
ice
my
hockey
bad.
doesn't surprise me. I should have went with ice hockey first because of the fact that pretty much, unless you live in the Midwest, because that seems to be like the most
Yeah, there aren't a lot of
Midwest,
ice
northern
hockey.
states.
yeah, those states seem to be the most centralized in regards to the amount of people that play hockey on ice hockey on a consistent basis. Is the
Yeah.
Midwest, like Wisconsin and Minnesota and Michigan.
Now, when we were looking just completely overall high school to NCAA, the sport with the highest percentage is, believe it or not, lacrosse jumps up over ice hockey because there's a high Division 3%.
Yeah, I mean, lacrosse is pretty popular.
Yeah,
It's really blown up in the Lehigh Valley.
yeah.
Really blown up.
Wrestling is the least from high school to overall NCAA.
Wrestling is so hard to get into as
Yeah,
far as
you
like
have to
Division
be
I athletes.
elite of the elite to get into to get to that point.
You have to get to Penn State and be coached by what's his name?
I don't even know what his name
I
is.
can't remember his name now. The guy who won national titles when he wrestled at Iowa. But now, just real quick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on the women's side, highest and lowest high school to Division I percentage. The lowest is once again volleyball at 1.2%. And the highest is once again ice hockey at 10.2%, because women's ice hockey is still pretty darn new and is the least participated high school sport by a lot.
Oh yeah, I can imagine so.
Now, overall, high school to college, ice hockey is still number 1, 33.6%. So hey, you want to get your girl into the NCAA sports? Tell her to play fucking hockey.
Yeah. And they just started a professional women's hockey league. I think it has like 8 or 10 teams, and then you have the Olympics. I mean, if you're that good, you can get to the Olympic shit.
The least is volleyball, because believe it or not, out of the women's sports, which are basketball, cross country, field hockey, golf, ice hockey, lacrosse, soccer, softball, swimming and diving, tennis, track and field, volleyball, and water polo, you basically take out football and baseball and put field hockey and softball in. Volleyball is still the less at 3.9%, because volleyball has the second highest high school second highest high school participation behind only track and field.
I
Oh yeah,
believe that for the women. Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
definitely do
volleyball.
too, because yeah,
There's
women's
another thing.
women's volleyball I think is one of the bigger women's sports in
Yes.
Yeah,
NCAA.
and there's no doubt about that because I didn't even realize this until last year. The girls, they play volleyball in the fall. Like that's when girls volleyball in high school is.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, I thought it
Boys
was
play
spring.
boys play in the spring, girls play in the fall.
Yeah. Girls is in fall.
And then a lot of those girls, they go into travel. They do travel volleyball
Yep.
in the off season. So they're in volleyball all the goddamn time.
Well, I'm gonna
Um,
travel to volley my balls.
yep. And then there's also travel league um goodness gracious field hockey. And I only
Yeah.
know that because my wife participated in that. She was in travel league field hockey. She was the goalie. She was the goalie. She had balls hit at her.
She was used to be getting hit by balls. Okay, great.
Well, out of respect for your wife, I won't make any jokes, but I want to. Oh, I want to. Mostly directed at you, though. To be fair.
Yes. But yeah, so it's just
So I guess to sum up this last little conversation we've had is that parents, shut the fuck up. Your kid's not that fucking special.
You'll know when they're special, but I'm sorry,
yeah,
that's too young to be really.
yeah. Yeah,
I
you'll
mean,
know
yeah,
when they're
but it's
special
like,
because you'll have recruiters coming after them.
yeah,
That's when you know they're special.
like I'm just thinking about what I've seen personally in terms of like high school athletes. There are three high school athletes that I saw, and this is in football, who really stood out. The first one was John Linton from Catasauqua High School. He was like nobody could stop him on a high school field. He went to play college football at University of North Carolina. He was not as much of a standout. He did get drafted and he played a few years in the NFL for the Bills and maybe somebody else, but he was nothing special in the NFL. Second guy I saw was Austin Scott at Parkland.
Yeah.
He was completely unstoppable. And the thing that I always remember about watching his highlights when he was at Parkland is that it never looked like he had to put in his full effort. Like he was just that much better than anybody. He was just that much faster than everybody. He didn't have to ever go to 100. It wasn't that he
Yeah.
couldn't. He said he didn't have to. And
Yeah.
why do it if you don't have to? There was like one time, I think it was in like maybe it was like I think the state championship game or some state playoff game would not have been the championship game. I remember all of a sudden you could see him go to a second gear or a third gear, and like I think my dad and I were watching that game live, and we turned and said, "Oh, you just did it," And he of course went to Penn State, and he had a very
Lackluster.
rocky career, and which ended badly for disciplinary reasons. So
Yeah.
and he never got to the NFL. And then the third guy, of course, was Saquon Barkley. And he, of course, has been a very special player in college and in the pros when he's been healthy.
Yeah, he's had his sparks.
Yeah.
James Mungro was another person. Now, I never saw him play, but James Mungro was another guy. He made the NFL, and he was from Pleasant Valley,
Yeah.
up in that area.
The other one you can mention too was during my time was Dan Kendra from Becca.
He's a client of my boss's, actually. His problem was that he got hurt and stuff. The other one I remember, and this was like,
and he wasn't that smart either.
Yeah, there was one that I remembered, and it was kind of like right at the beginning of me really kind of becoming aware of high school sports. There was this guy who played at Easton who was named Juan Gaddy. He was a running back.
Yep,
And
I remember him.
he was like great and everything. And he went to high school.
I watched him play a couple times.
Yeah, he went to high school in Easton. He decided to go to Temple. And I remember it was like front page news in the Express Times here when he made that choice. And one of the reasons why he said he opted to go to Temple instead of Florida State, who was also recruiting him heavily, was a playing time thing. He was like, "Oh, Temple, they told me I'd probably get a chance to play right away. At Florida State, they told me, yeah, you're probably not going to really see much playing time until like your junior year." And I never heard from him again. I don't know exactly what happened with him at Temple. I'm sure I could probably look it up and find out, but I'm not interested in doing that right now. I don't know if he got hurt or if it was something else, but I just remember like whenever I thought about him years after saying, maybe he should have just gone to Florida State, especially at that time in the early 90s when Florida State was like the juggernaut. So,
Yeah. You would have learned a lot more and probably would have had a better career.
I mean, maybe it still wouldn't have worked out because there would have been other really equally good guys. I don't remember who's Florida State running backs were in the early 90s or anything like that, but it's like maybe you still just would have had a better shot at doing something there than where you ended up. So, I mean, it's a crapshoot. It is a complete and total crapshoot, but it's like that guy you see at high school who looks like they're all world and, can do it all. It's depends upon where they are too. It's like Pennsylvania is still considered a decent enough state for high school football and everything.
Yeah.
But it's not Texas or Florida or some places in California and
Ohio. California, yeah.
So, yeah. And there's one guy that played for. Where the hell did he play for? He plays for the Commanders right now, and he went to school around here, and I can't think of his darn name. He's a wide receiver for the.
Oh, Jahan Dotson. He went to Nazareth.
Yeah,
he went to Nazareth, and then he went to Penn State.
Yeah. So he's the most recent kid from this area, and I say I use kid lightly just because he's younger than us.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm still coming to terms with the fact that I can say that about anybody that plays pro sports. It's like I'm older than everybody who plays pro sports now. There's nobody older than me now.
But and that's football. Basketball is even more scarce with the amount of standouts in our area that have come out of. Pete Lasicki's the only person that I can really think of that was anything out of high school in regards to standouts for basketball.
Yeah, I mean the roster. I mean it's based upon roster size as much as anything too, because it's like, the roster, the pro roster in football is 53, and that doesn't include like guys who might be on injured reserve or the practice squad and everything.
Yeah,
basketball roster is 12.
Yeah, so it's just,
yeah, Jahan Dotson, he
hasn't had a stellar.
He was a first round pick. He's still pretty young and everything, and maybe some of this could be attributed to the issues that the Commanders have had at quarterback. In his rookie year in 2022, he played 12 total games, 61 targets, 35 receptions for 523 yards and 7 touchdowns. Last year he played in every game, 83 targets, 49 catches for 518 yards and 4 touchdowns. So he had more catches but fewer yards and touchdowns. So let's see how he does now with a highly touted rookie quarterback, assuming that highly touted rookie quarterback makes the field, so.
Yeah. That's all situation too for him with that team.
Because you never know. I mean, just, that's right. I was going to say, I don't remember what veteran the Commanders brought in to be the caddy for Daniels if he doesn't outright win the job. And then I remembered who it is. It's sorry, I don't mean to make fun of the guy, but it's the guy's on his third team now. It's Marcus Mariota. So
yeah.
So I can see him definitely starting the season, but it's like if Daniels hasn't taken over by halfway point, then something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
This isn't like it was when
well, they're tanking again.
Right. Well, what else can you tank for when you already drafted the quarterback? So it's not like it was 20 years ago when they were still content to have rookie quarterbacks sit for most of their rookie year. It's like now they expect these guys to be on the field at some point in their rookie year. Otherwise, there's no patience anymore. It's like if the guy can't prove that he's the guy right away, then you got to go back to the drawing board because he'll never put it together if otherwise, then you'll be like, oh, look what's going on with the Giants right now, according to this one Facebook group that always shows up on my goddamn feed. They hate Daniel Jones. So
well, certainly too is more offenses in college ball are doing more pro style offenses now too, so they're expecting more from them.
Yeah. But I of course would say, we could argue the whole they shouldn't have given Daniel Jones the extension thing. It was a blue in the face, but who else was going to be their quarterback last year? And then it's like maybe they would have been bad enough they could have drafted Williams or Daniels or May this year, but I didn't want any part of the other guys that got drafted, especially Nix or McCarthy. And then the problem is if the Giants are bad this year, which a lot of people seem to think they're going to be, yeah, who's the great quarterback next year? There isn't one.
No, it really isn't.
Even if somebody just goes and has like an absolutely bonkers college season, it's like I don't know who it's going to be, and if it ends up being Deion's kid, I don't give a fuck. I want no part of him.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how he does this year.
I don't need Lamar Ball.
I don't know if Deion will be that bad,
especially when the part of Lamar Ball is being played by fucking Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, speaking of going back to basketball, we didn't really touch on men's basketball really a lot, just a little bit.
That's because it sucks. I say this because,
Bronny James,
because the Knicks lost.
Oh, I have my opinion on this one.
So I
should
find
be
it very
scared by what you're
interesting
gonna say.
after the NBA Combine that most NBA scouts are not interested in Bronny James as a possible pick in the draft.
Like he's staying in the draft, right?
Yes, he has decided to continue to stay in the draft, and I think that's pressure from his dad.
Yeah, could very well be.
I think there's some pressure from his dad to get drafted. I am super surprised that he even entered the draft with an inkling of thinking about being in the draft because his first year in college was nothing spectacular. It was
And
he didn't even average 5 points a game.
Yeah.
Listen, I understand the health issue.
Well, that's the other thing that I think is going to be a big factor.
He played more minutes as the season went on, and he showed glimpses of, some good games. But even when he was at full strength and healthy and was playing more minutes, he wasn't doing anything spectacular that I saw while watching USC games. And it's pretty much kind of to me, I've read the same thing where a lot of GMs and scouts definitely don't think he's a first round pick, and a lot of them don't think he should be drafted at all. In regards to this, so I watched some stuff in the combine. He did some good things. Some of the games he played, not so much. You know what I mean? Against his peers. So to be honest with you, to me, I think it's a joke. And I'm going to say it. It's a joke if this kid gets drafted at all. It's the second round. I think it's a joke. First round, it's a fucking travesty. I think it's just fucking ridiculous. This is all about his dad. It looks like there was 10 teams that wanted to do private workouts with him, and he's only doing 2, or he only did 2, one with the Lakers, of course, and one with the Phoenix Suns, and that was it. I did see, top that off, it's sad that this is happening. I just feel like this is some type of, I don't want to say a ploy, but I think you're putting too much on this kid right now. You know what I mean? Forcing this. I think it's not good. It's not good for Bronny at all. Honestly, it's really fucking ridiculous. That's really all I can say about it. I think it's a joke to a certain extent.
There's a lot of pressure on him because he's the older brother to go out and perform and be this stud basketball player like his dad was. I'm sorry, your dad, as much as I'm never liked the fact that he was called King James as soon as he stepped in the league, even though he hadn't done anything.
Yeah, that's fucking ridiculous.
His dad is a generational player. Like, he's one in a generation. And it's true. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say I love LeBron, but it's a true statement to say that he is a generational player.
Yeah.
He does things and has been able to do things that most athletes do not do in the sport that they are in. And to be the kid of a player like that, just like Jordan's kids, is a lot of heavy weight.
Oh,
Jordan's kids didn't pan out to be anything special.
Nope.
And
I got
maybe
Jordan's
his
kid.
younger son will, but I'm sorry, Bronny's just not. He's a okay college athlete. I don't think he's ever going to be more than that. Could he? Sure, possible. Right training, you know, gets things better, but he's not built like his dad either. He can't play the game like his dad.
No, he's going to struggle.
He's
And
what, 6'1", I think? Is he 6'1", 6'2", maybe?
I think he's more like I think he's between 6'2" and 6'4".
So like he's not, and he's way smaller than his dad as
Yeah.
far as like body size. You know,
He's
he's
6'1" and a half, 210.
okay, six
Okay.
one and a half, 210. Yeah, I thought he was on the smaller side. So he's a point guard, and a small point guard at that.
Whereas
Like,
LeBron is 6'9", 250.
Yeah. It's going to be challenging for him. And the funny part is it's this NBA draft is in this combine is very interesting because in this past week, there's been players who have taken their name out of the draft and some really good players who have taken their name out of their draft and they're going back to college. Um, you know, it's kind of like, and I think some of that has to do with like, I can't remember the kid's name, but kid played for Alabama. He took his name out of the draft this week. He's going back to Alabama. He wants to try to go back and win a national championship with that Alabama team because that team's pretty much keeping, I think, like 95% of their roster with the incoming freshmen or whatever and a couple transfers. So they're going to have another good team next year. So he wants to win a title. Plus, the other thing too is you got to think about this. These kids are going into the combine and they're getting advice from all the scouts, what they need to work on, what they do good at, and blah, blah, blah. And what they did, their projection is they can go back to college because these kids who are going to the combine probably have NIL deals at some aspect. So it's not like, yeah, they're losing NBA money, but they still getting NIL money. So they're still kind of, they're going to be well off to a certain extent. You know what I mean? So
mhm.
it's not really, nothing's they're not hurting themselves, to be honest with you. So it's interesting that there's been I think at least 6 or 7 players that have taken their name out of the draft. So the talent this year's draft is going to be is really not going to be
Well,
all
yeah, as
that
long as they
great.
don't get an age and declare and become and essentially declare that they're a pro,
Yeah, they had
they're
till I think
they're allowed to go back to college.
they had till I think I don't remember if it was Wednesday, Thursday, or it was either the 29th, 30th to 31st. They had I think it was the 29th actually. They had until that day to decide if they were going to stay in the draft or they were going to take their name out of the draft.
Yeah.
Well, for shits and giggles, ESPN.com had an early mock draft up on.
Oh boy, I can just imagine now.
I'm just looking for when they fucking published this. Yesterday. Early Friday. Bronny was pick number 52.
Late second round.
Ridiculous.
Almost at the end of the draft. There's only 58 picks this year because the Sixers and Suns forfeited second round picks. So instead of there being 60 picks, there's only 58. So they had him going 52nd to Golden State. Which means very little the way the NBA draft typically works out because there's usually so many trades of picks in the second round and then so many picks that get drafted by somebody and then traded to somebody else before the fucking night's over. So
But that just tells you that they think he could be drafted. He can be drafted, but it'll be a late second rounder. That's where they have him. They have him as a mid to late second round draft pick. I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying it right now, unfortunately.
Yeah,
No
I don't.
buenos.
And you know, as smart as his dad is, like you would have thought, you would think
his dad's full of snot.
his dad would be like, "You're not ready." Like, you need more time to develop. But it could be also ego and be like, listen, we need to play together because I'm not getting any younger, and you need to come get in the draft and so that we can get you drafted so I can play with you.
Yeah, man,
I
that's
wonder.
just.
I wonder if the heart condition might have anything to do with it too. Saying like the more that you play in college, the more potential for something to happen there is, you know. Whereas if you get to the NBA, you at least get some money first. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a bad way to look at it, though.
It
Too.
definitely is. I'm not saying that it is. But
I know it's valid though. It's a
it's
valid thought.
possible, you know. So
It's a valid thought. You never know. I just it's hard for me to grasp that concept. To be honest.
All right. I'm tired of yawning.
Okay.
Still stop yawning.
Tired. Long damn day.
So let's talk about wrestling.
Fucking 3 hours later, we'll be done.
No, that's it. Well, it's really only been a little more than 2 since you finally got on. So
We'll be done at like 3:00 in the morning after we get done talking about wrestling.
Despite WWE doing one of their blood money shows last week and AEW having a pay-per-view, I don't know. I really don't feel like there was a lot that was going on in wrestling this week. There was a lot of stories flying back and forth about the AEW TV rights deals and shit like that.
Becky Lynch possibly going to AEW and she could be all elite.
Yeah, just shut the fuck up about that and don't mention that again because it's just not going to happen.
Well, the new
anybody who thinks that there's a goddamn possibility of that happening is a fucking idiot, or there's a total complete AEW mark. I just wanted to say this real quick. I don't care if she put on a good match against Willow last Sunday. Sasha is still a terrible fucking promo. Seriously, I tuned on for Dynamite at the beginning of Dynamite on Wednesday night, and she's cutting a promo where she literally, within the span of the promo, alternates between being a face and a heel at least 3 times.
She did.
And then when she came out for her match later that night, because it was Sky Blue that her mysteriously attacked her a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that really is always bothering me about Sasha. I've just always thought her gimmick is shit. Whether she was the boss or now she's the CEO with the fucking fake chants. There's 2 things that I hate about Sasha, and she does it all the time.
Shows you your hands. She likes to show her hands.
Because she's got the fucking like things on that say the boss or the CEO or whatever the fuck she's wearing. And then when she gets in the ring, the woman can't dance.
Man, you try to say Snoop Dogg's cousin can't dance? You got no
That's
rhythm?
exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that strippers are embarrassed by that.
Ouch.
Jesus. And if you think I'm sounding too much like Cornette, yes, I probably am, and I don't fucking care. Because that's exactly the case. Her whole gimmick, this is the reason why I've never been able to really get behind her, and I know certain somebody would be saying shit about
strippers would be bad.
That, the other thing. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there's somebody that I like that you don't like, that you think is shit. That's not what I'm talking about right now. I'm saying these are what I have issues with this particular person. But
yeah, I get it.
No, I can't have that argument anymore.
Well, there was an update today that supposedly the offer from the WBD for the new TV rights is around 110 million or more.
Which supposedly is a substantial upgrade or increase.
Yes.
And I'm like, good for them then.
Well, since they're able to do that because they're losing the NBA anyway. So
well, see, that's the thing I don't really fully understand. I don't know if WBD losing the NBA is really a good thing or not. I mean, we'll find out whenever the deal gets struck.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't understand. Now, their ratings also went up again this week for Dynamite because there was no game up against it, but it was still less than 800,000.
Yeah.
And the increase in the key demo, and the key demo was pretty much non-existent. I think it went from like 0.24 to 0.25, which is really just to say it stayed the same.
10 more people joined in and watched it.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like I agree with people say I don't understand why pulling these kind of numbers means you should get a bigger deal. You know what I mean?
Okay,
Because
so
and I know there's a lot of views about there's been the sports playoffs and um cord cutting and this the other thing. But it's like when's the last time they drew a million average viewers for this show? It's been I think a year or so at this point. I don't even know the last time they drew a million for a segment, for a quarter hour. So I don't get why when it's going down. Maybe it's because it's cheap for them to produce, but I'm like, is it less expensive than just airing more fucking Big Bang Theory reruns? I mean, I don't know. And look, it's the reason why I'm hating on AEW is not because I want to see it fail. It's because I wanted to see it be better. The problem is the way it is put together, the way it is structured, and who's running it. Unless something drastic changes, it's just not going to get better. So we're stuck with this glorified indie show where you've got a combination of people who don't know what they're doing but think they do because they booked an e-fed, and guys who have a very big overinflated sense of their worth and their ego think that whatever they do is the greatest thing ever and should be done, But I will from now on refer to as the AEW axis of idiocy.
access of idiocy. Okay.
Jericho, Moxley, Bucks.
Oh, the Triangle of Doom.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. The Triangle of Terror. There we go. Who's the Triangle of Terror? Was that the Sergeant Slaughter, General Adnan, Colonel Mustafa trio? I think it was.
It might have been.
Or was it the Butcher, Avalanche, Kevin Sullivan trio?
The Butcher, the Baker, and the Candlestick Maker.
You
know
Might
what?
have been the second one.
No, it's the Butcher and the Blade. Remember?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And Bunny.
Thank you. I was gonna say how could I have forgotten her?
The Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. Yeah.
I still remember the first time they showed up on Dynamite and Excalibur was trying to sell it as if it was the Four Horsemen who had just hit the fucking ring.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's the Butcher and the Blade.
Yeah, that's what he was basically doing. And I, of course, was sitting there going, who?
Yeah.
That's what I said I say about a lot of
the
the people that are on AEW now. Who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, I knew who they were because they had come from TNA at that time.
Well, it was when fucking Leo Rush showed up on Wednesday night. I just went, this motherfucker again? They're going to try to use this motherfucker again?
Horrible.
Sweet Leo Rush.
And look, I know WWE is not really much better right now because they're missing a lot of stars. And it's a little boring. And I totally agree with that. Like, I can't sit and watch Raw or SmackDown from start to finish either. I mean, I'd make a bit more of an attempt to watch Dynamite from start to finish, for Christ's sake, just because
True.
I'm kind of more interested in the shittiness that they're putting on than I am with the WWE being boring and tedious. I mean, like, I watched Raw the other night to an extent, but I was mostly just watching just to see if Punk was going to show up. Not expecting that he was going to.
Yeah. You never know.
Yeah. There's really only a few people that I really want to see. And, it's like I knew exactly what was going to happen in the match between Liv and Becky, at least in terms of the final outcome. So it was like there was no mystery there. And then, Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Here we go. I don't know who was ultimately responsible for it, but I have to mention this because it was so fucked up. So the show ends where Dom essentially cost Becky the match again because they're doing this thing where Dom's trying to get at Liv because Liv took out Rhea, and we know exactly where this is going. luckily they're not trying to disguise it anymore either. But so Liv wins the match. She gets out of the ring. And the last thing that you see on Raw before it cuts, because they were right up against 11 o'clock and, they don't have an overrun on Raw anymore like they used to. But the last thing you see is Dom and Liv are standing next to each other in the ramp. Dom's looking at Liv pissed off, and Liv's looking at Dom weirdly.
Yes.
I should say, because it's really hard to describe any other way she was looking at him. And that's where the show ended. And I just said to myself, that was a fucking weird way to end the show.
Until she kisses him, and that was caught on the video.
Tuesday morning on or maybe it was later Monday night, I can't really remember at this point. I'm on cage side seats looking at the whole show recap, and there's a video with her kissing him. And I went, who fucked that one up? WWE or USA? Or both?
Yeah. Should have probably happened about 40 seconds sooner.
I'm I guess they're almost kind of assuming that everybody who watches the show also goes to their fucking social media channels and would have seen it. But they're going to have to recap that at the start of Raw on Monday, I would think. Otherwise, they're stupid. But it just...
Yeah, they were.
That's the kind of mistake you can't make. Again,
nope.
if it was because USA had to get to the next program, whatever fucking shitty reality show they show at 11 o'clock on Monday nights, they just had to cut to it right there or whatever. And so WWE mistimed it or whatever, then goddamn WWE, that's a big fucking fuck up.
Yeah, for that it is.
So
it's my Bachelor reruns. I gotta watch my Bachelor reruns.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's The Bachelor. I think it's well, actually, hold on.
It'd be funny if it is. I have no idea.
What airs on USA at Monday at 11 p.m.?
That's a lot of ads in there.
Yeah, I know. Oh, well, that's not really helping me. Yeah, fuck it. I don't remember.
Google's not your friend tonight for that one.
No, it's not all right, I'm on their website right now. Maybe do they have doesn't seem that they do. I'm looking to see if they just have a programming guide on their website, but it doesn't look like it. Oh, they still advertise the Grizzlies on this, eh? Fucking assholes.
Okay.
All right, well, whatever, but I just, yeah. So, yeah, WWE is boring right now. AEW is still a shit show. That's basically the way it is right now. So, see, here's the funny thing. If Rock should come back for SummerSlam, which it sounds like he's not going to because he's got other commitments and everything, but if Rock was going to come back for SummerSlam to do a match with Cody now, and he wanted to start saying, oh, wrestling's cool again because I'm back or this time I would say yes.
It'd be more valid this time if he said it than last time.
It would be, because unfortunately a lot of the energy seemed to get sucked out of the room when he left. Of course, it hasn't been just him. Roman's been gone. Seth's been gone. Punk has been here and there, so
yeah.
Survivor New Zealand.
That's what they show?
Yep.
I thought for sure it was some other kind of reality. I thought for sure it was some other kind of reality show that looked like that Farmer Needs a Wife show that Fox airs.
Farmer Needs a Wife.
That one is hilarious. I watched it once. It's fucking hilarious.
The only reason I know the existence of that show is because of watching the fucking Gordon Ramsay shows on Fox. So.
Yeah. I watched that show once. It is what it is.
Oh, you might be like this because this doesn't have anything to do with anything, but I was hilarious. So, Next Level Chef, Gordon Ramsay show ended a couple of weeks ago. So now they're airing a second season of his Food Stars show, which debuted last year. But this year they brought Lisa Vanderpump on, so they have competing.
Oh, it's him versus her. I saw the commercials for that.
Yeah, she's actually kind of funny. I didn't think I would think that, but so this past week's episode was the first challenge that they had because the debut episode was them picking their teams. So they were in London and they were doing it was kind of a food truck thing for a lunch, and it was who can make the most profit wins. All right. So this one guy who was on Ramsay's team who I believe was like some kind of like custom grill salesman. You know, right? So he didn't have like a food product per se. He had a food equipment product.
Gotcha.
Um, he was like part of the marketing team for the thing as opposed to like the food team. But when they asked him to help out with the food, they were like, hey, here, can you get the cheese ready? And the cheese was American cheese. So how do you think you get ready American cheese?
Unwrap it from the thing.
Unwrap it. Guess what?
He didn't know how to unwrap it.
He didn't know how to unwrap American cheese.
Poor soul.
If you get it from the deli, you don't even have to unwrap it. You just put the slices
Right.
aside.
But I just couldn't contemplate the fact that this guy had never had a craft single in his life.
That's
Must have grew up on that high flute and American cheese.
Yeah, I guess I don't know, but between that and the fact that he thought a good thing of entertainment for them to do to keep people entertained well in line was to hire a juggler, and the fact that he like pushed
a
his way to the
juggler.
front of the line and started like ripping up tickets because they were behind on filling the orders and stuff. Yeah, he was the first one to get kicked off.
He was ripping up the tickets.
That's what they said he did. His other teammates said he did. I would have to go back and watch it to see that. But he did kind of like force his way up to the front of the line through the customers to be like, to start yelling at the people making the food. It'd be like, you're not getting out fast enough, or we got too long of a line or something like that. And it was like, all the customers were basically looking at him like, it's like the exact kind of impression you want to have for something like that. So
Yeah, that's not good.
it wasn't
Shit.
much of a deliberation for them to figure out who they were kicking off. It was like there was only one other person who they said, and that was because that was like the person who like set the prices for the whatever that was they were selling. They said that she like picked too high of a price point, and it was like, yeah, valid criticism, but still not nearly as bad as all of his fuck ups. So
Yeah, definitely not. Screw that.
yeah,
Shit.
but again, a guy doesn't know how to unwrap a slice of American cheese. Again, I'm pretty sure I could hand a slice of American cheese to my 3 younger nieces and nephews, and they would figure it out.
Yeah, they probably would.
If they don't already know, which I kind of have a feeling they do.
And on that note, I think we're going to end with cheese tonight.
Hey, best place you can end, because other than people who are lactose intolerant, who doesn't like cheese?
Very true. Very true. Take us home, Jeremy.
I don't know why you're laughing at that so much. I was being serious. Who doesn't like cheese?
Give me Cooper Sharp. Anyway.
I like Cooper cheese. That shit's good.
I like Havarti.
Not bad.
Well, on that note, we're going to call it a night. I'm going to go to sleep. Get some well-deserved rest. Got a long day ahead of me. Yay! Long day.
Jeremy's very tired, everybody. So let's be nice to him. Let's pat him on the head and
tuck him in for the night.
No,
yeah, somebody come tuck me in.
I don't even tuck myself in. That takes too much effort.
It's dirty.
Well, it's hard to tuck yourself in when you're the one in. What am I supposed to do? Like take my arms out to like tuck and then somehow have.
I've never actually been tucked in. That would drive me nuts. I don't like blankets under my hiney. That's uncomfortable. But anyways,
that is very true. Yeah.
We thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. We hope you had fun. It was interesting, strange, but all in all, good, wholesome fun. And we thank you. We love you, and we hope you